You think they're pulling away because they're done with you. You're wrong. They're pulling away because of what you did to them, not what they did to you. You probably replayed it 100 times. The moment things shifted, the moment they got quiet, got distant, started taking longer to respond, started showing up less, and you build a story around it. They're losing interest. They're protecting themselves from someone who isn't right for them. They're moving on. Here's what nobody's telling you. That distance is a rejection. It's injury. Something happened. Maybe something you didn't even register as significant. And it hurt them in a way their system wasn't prepared to process. And now you're watching the aftermath, mistaking a wound for an exit. This is the part almost everyone gets backwards. They assume avoidant distance is a decision, a choice the avoidant is making because they've evaluated the relationship and found it lacking. But that's not what's happening here. This is a nervous system in retreat, not a person who has decided to leave. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly what happened in their system when they pulled back. You're going to see why this kind of distance looks identical to disinterest from the outside, even though underneath it's the opposite. And you're going to know what it actually takes to repair this. Because what feels like the end is often an avoidant trying to survive, feeling something they don't know how to hold. So what does it actually mean to hurt an avoidant? Not in the dramatic sense. Not a fight, not a betrayal. Often it's something much smaller. A moment where you got too close too fast. A moment where you needed something and they couldn't give it. And you reacted in a way that confirmed every fear they carry about closeness. A moment where your hurt became their evidence. Proof that being known by you comes with a cost they didn't sign up for. And here's the part that surprises people. The withdrawal that follows isn't punishment. It's not them showing you how it'll be if you stay together. It's containment. Their system absorbs something painful. And the only tool it has ever trusted to manage pain is distance. So they use it, not because they want to be far from you, because they don't know how to be close to you while also being in pain. That's the contradiction sitting underneath almost every avoidant withdrawal. They want closeness, and they are actively destroying it at the same time. And both of those things are true simultaneously, and neither one cancels the other out. Most people respond to this distance by trying to fix what they think is broken. They apologize repeatedly. They explain their intentions. They reassure and reassure again, hoping that enough reassurance will undo whatever damage was done. And it doesn't work. Not because the avoidant doesn't care. Because reassurance isn't what their system is asking for. Here's why. When an avoidant has been hurt, their nervous system isn't running a logical audit of whether you're trustworthy. It's running a threat response. And threat responses don't resolve through argument. They resolve through time, through space, through the absence of pressure. Every time you push for clarity, every time you ask them to explain what they're feeling, you're adding pressure to a system that's already trying to regulate itself down. And pressure, to an avoidant nervous system in repair mode, reads as more danger, not less. So the cycle continues. You push because you're scared of losing them. They retreat because they're scared of what closeness cost them. And every round of this makes the original hurt harder to find underneath all the layers of misunderstanding stacked on top of it. Now here's where this gets interesting, because the way out of this isn't what your instincts are telling you to do. Stage 1 is a freeze. Right after the hurt happens, the avoidant doesn't process it in real time. They go quiet, sometimes mid-conversation, sometimes the next day. This isn't coldness. It's their system hitting pause because it doesn't have an immediate strategy for what happened. If you mistake this freeze for finality, you'll panic. It's not finality. It's a system buffering. Stage 2 is a retreat. This is where the physical and emotional distance shows up. Slower replies, less initiation, a noticeable flattening in how present they are. What's actually happening internally is far more active than it looks from the outside. They're replaying the moment that hurt them, trying to locate exactly what went wrong, and quietly testing whether the relationship still feels survivable. The stillness you see is doing none of that justice. Stage 3 is the reassessment. Somewhere in the distance, the avoidant starts asking themselves a question they rarely ask out loud. Is this person actually safe, or did I want them to be safe? This is the most fragile point in the entire process, because it can go two ways. If they feel chased, cornered, or forced to answer that question before they're ready, they answer it with distance permanently. If they're given room to sit with it, without pressure, something different happens. Stage 4 is a return, not because enough time passed, because the absence of pressure let them finish their own internal process. They come back not with an apology usually, but with presence, a longer text, an unprompted check-in, a small gesture that signals they're testing the water again. This is the moment most people miss entirely, because they're so braced for the relationship to be over that they don't recognize a return when it's standing right in front of them. Here's the part that needs saying clearly, because so many people get this exact step wrong. The instinct, when an avoidant starts coming back, is to flood them, to finally say everything you held back during the silence, to ask for explanations, for certainty, for some kind of proof that this won't happen again. And that instinct, completely understandable as it is, can undo the entire repair before it's finished. What actually works isn't more talking. It's matching their pace without matching their distance. Staying warm without closing the gap faster than they're ready for it to close. This isn't about performing patience while quietly resenting them for the silence. It's about genuinely understanding that their system is still finishing a process you can't see, and rushing it doesn't speed up healing. It restarts a freeze. Real patience looks like responding warmly, without overcorrecting, letting them set the pace of re-engagement, without disappearing yourself in the process, not interrogating their silence, but also not pretending it didn't happen. You don't need to chase the return. You need to simply still be there when it shows up, recognizable as the same person they pulled away from, not someone reshaped by anxiety while they were gone. That difference matters more than people realize, because if you spend the distance spiraling, performing detachment to protect yourself, or quietly punishing them for leaving, the person who shows up for the return won't recognize a safe landing. They'll find more evidence that closeness costs something. And the cycle starts again, except now it's harder to interrupt. So if you're in the middle of this right now, here's what to actually do when they go quiet. Resist the urge to fill that silence with explanation or apology they haven't asked for. Let the space exist without narrating it. Every unanswered text you don't send is doing more repair work than the perfect paragraph you're tempted to write. When the thought comes that maybe this is permanent, that maybe you've lost them for good, let that thought exist without treating it as fact. Their distance right now is information about their internal process, not a verdict on the relationship. Don't confuse the two. And when they do come back, don't make them pay an emotional toll to re-enter. Don't demand the explanation before you let yourself feel relieved. Let the return be simple. Let it be a door opening rather than an interrogation. If you make the return cost something, you teach their system that coming back is its own kind of danger, and that lesson is the one thing that turns temporary distance into permanent distance. And I know the fear sitting underneath all of this. What if I give them space and they stay gone? What if this isn't repair? It's a slow ending dressed up as something hopeful. That fear is real, and sometimes the distance doesn't resolve. But here's what's true regardless of how it ends. Chasing a wounded nervous system never closes a wound. It only adds pressure to a system already overloaded. If they come back, it will be because the space let them. If they don't, no amount of pursuit was ever going to change that. And you would have only spent yourself proving a point to someone who couldn't receive it yet anyway. Let's bring this together. The distance you're seeing right now isn't disinterest. It's an avoidant nervous system trying to survive its own reaction to being hurt, using the only tool it has ever trusted. That tool is space. And the most counterintuitive truth in all of this is that giving them more of it, not less, is what actually lets them come back whole instead of further away. You're not losing them by waiting. You're giving the only thing that was ever going to bring them back in the first place. I want to know what you've seen. Has an avoidant ever come back on their own after you stopped chasing the silence? What did that return actually look like for you? Tell me in the comments, because someone reading this right now needs to hear that it's possible. If this gave you something to sit with, subscribe. Next week, I'm breaking down the exact thing avoidants say right before they let someone back in completely, and why it almost never sounds like what you'd expect. I'll see you there.